Hey guys, it's Noah, and this week we have a video for you guys. It's our first service. It was awesome. We had some great music, some good conversation, and a short message that we have here for you to watch. I hope you enjoy, and it'll be the first of many. Thanks, guys. Thank you guys for coming out. I want to start with a little story. This is something that actually happened to me yesterday, last night. So I'm driving home from work. I got off late. It's closing. So it's about 10 p.m. It's pretty dark out, and I'm at this red light. The red light right when you get off 270 and you're at Sawmill. So it's off the highway. I'm coming in pretty quick. I stop, and so does my car. My car just decides to stop. And this is one of the coolest moments I've experienced this year. So my car stops. It just finished raining, so it's super wet outside. Put my car in park, and I pull my emergency brake just in case, and I'm like, okay, my car stopped. Let me see if I can get it to start. Nothing going. Nothing's happening. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be home late. Let me call my wife. So I call Naomi, and I'm like, hey, my car just stopped. Don't know why. Don't know what's going on. I'm going to be home late. I might need to get towed. What should we do? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. So I'm in my car probably for another 40 minutes trying to figure out if I can get my car to just will it to start. It doesn't work. Nothing's happening. I finally get it out of park into neutral. It's still nothing I do is working, right? Some guy pulls up on my right because cars are like zooming around me because I'm stopped in a very important spot right at the front of this red light on 270. People are coming off the highway 70 miles an hour, and then they just have to stop right behind me even though there's this green light up. And I'm like, please don't hit my car. Please don't hit my car. And this guy comes swinging up real fast and misses my car and comes to the right and rolls down his window, and he's like, hey, you need help? I was like, yes, I really do. And he's like, oh, okay, what's going on? I describe it. He's like, I don't know how to do that. And then drives off. I was like, well, at least he tried. 2 minutes later, another car, this teeny tiny little Honda, pulls up to my left. And this guy rolls down the window, and he looks over who I'm assuming is his girlfriend or his wife, or there's a girl in the passenger seat. I don't know who she is, but he looks over. He's like, hey, buddy, you okay? I was like, kind of stuck. He's like, what's going on? I tell him what's going on. He's like, cool. Can I come help? And I was like, absolutely, if you know how. So they pull up in front of me, put their hazards on, and he runs over to the side and just hops in my car. I'm like, okay, here we go. And he's like, so tell me what's going on. I describe it, and within like 4 minutes, he's figured out what's going on. He's like, oh, I've been doing this for like 20 years. I'm a retired mechanic. I've worked on thousands of cars. I know exactly what's happening with your car. Let's go. He gets out of my car, opens his trunk, and then just grabs like little tow straps. I'm like, you are not towing my car with your little Honda. Sure enough, he tows my car with his little Honda over to this parking lot, and then hops in my car and is like, all right, let's try some things. Let's figure it out. Within 5 minutes, we figure out how to get my car started. We get my car started, and I'm able to drive home. I'm like, whoa. I'm blown away. I don't clap too hard because when I tried to start my car this morning, it didn't work. but at the time, I was like super excited. I asked him for his number. It was really cool. I was like, hey, can I grab you dinner or something after this? He's like, nah, don't worry about it. Actually, you can buy me a beer sometime. And he smelled like he had had one too many, maybe, possibly. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll buy you a beer sometime. I really appreciate you. And he's like, yeah, sure, here's my number. Just hit me up tomorrow. And you know what, if you don't mind, I'll even come and I'll take a look at it and I'll fix it for you. Don't even worry about it. And I was like, what? He's like, it'll be cheap. I know the part. I'll go to the junkyard and pick it up, and then we'll just get you taken care of. Nicest guy ever. And I'm like, you really don't have to do this. And he looks at me and he goes, hey man, I know what it's like to be stuck on the road. I've been there, and it's one of the worst things, so I got you. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm driving home, call my wife, because I really haven't told her what's going on yet. She called me, she's like, where are you? Because it's been an hour. I was like, hey, I'll call you back, and just hung up on her. So she was probably scared. She's probably like, luckily I didn't say, yeah, don't worry, some stranger jumped in my car. I'll be fine. And then hung up, but no. So I'm driving home, and I call her, and I'm like, whoa. I can't believe this just happened. We are so blessed. Like some random stranger just jumped in my car and helped me out. I was like, what does it take to do that? So I do want to break really quickly and just have you guys look to your neighbor and kind of wonder, like, do you think that would happen to anyone anywhere in America, just in America? So just maybe 1 minute a person, look at each other and then ask that question. Like, do you think that would happen anywhere, to anyone, for any reason? So I will tell you if you're wrong, but raise your hand if you think that anywhere this could happen, at any place, any time, to anyone. Not the Bronx. Okay, so that's one place, maybe not. Okay, so I was thinking about this same thing too. Now a very similar situation happened to me in Defiance, Ohio. Has anybody been out there?
I live there.
You live there. Nice. Well, they are not nice to me out there for some reason. Went out there. If you go to Defiance, tell me if this is true. The majority of businesses out there are mechanic shops.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of mechanic shops out there. So you know there's a lot of mechanics. Car broke down out there when I was visiting a college. 0 people helped me. I couldn't ask for help. It was like, just didn't happen. I was like, what is going on? I know you guys know how to fix cars out here. Know for a fact you guys know how to fix cars. Now, is the capacity there? Absolutely. But I think that sometimes we take for granted just the environment that we live in, at the time that we live in, with the people that we live in. So when I'm driving home, I'm thinking, like, the first thing I think is, what is it about people in Ohio that this happens? Like, what is it? I've gotten Wendy's for free twice this week. Pretty dope. I'll go like a week without paying for dinner because people are just awesome and want to feed us. And I've been to other places where people say it's just not the same. So I started thinking, what is it about people in Ohio? Is it that they're, because I have a pretty analytical mind, I think, is it because back in the day it was like more farmers and maybe they were more self-reliance, so that habit was just there to take care of each other, and there's more community buy-in, like people really cared about their neighbors, where maybe that's not so much the case in the Bronx, right? Maybe people don't necessarily like each other. I don't know. I was thinking about it and it was too abstract. I was like, I don't know. I'd have to go and Google things and research and find things out. And I was in my car, so I couldn't do it. So then I started thinking, what is it about him and I that made this situation such a good situation? Why is it so good? This is an experience I wish most people had. Now, the first thing I thought of was it actually takes a very specific kind of perspective, because it's not everybody that would look at that situation and be more grateful for the help than angry for the car situation. I know plenty of people that would look at that situation and walk out pissed, saying, I can't believe my car broke down. I can't believe that I was stuck in front of this red light. I had the worst experience ever. You guys know people that feel that way, right? That would probably turn that into something negative about themselves or about the situation or about their day. I mean, I still have to throw down money on my car at the end of the day, but I feel more blessed than I feel cursed by the situation. So that's one thing, and that's not random. There were moments in my life where I had to make decisions to feel more blessed than cursed, to feel like I'm receiving more than I have to give up in my life. And then through the habitual action of doing that, it became kind of a second nature. So that was one thing. So I had to be willing to look at my situation gratefully. Second, this guy had to be a mechanic for however long he was, and he had to be generous. Not everybody is that generous with their time. So where did that come from? Probably his family, probably the people that he's involved himself with, or his own personal life experiences, where he's found out that living generously was more beneficial than being selfish with his skills and his time. Does that make sense? I mean, on the other hand, if he hadn't had one too many beers, maybe he wouldn't have helped me. So we could chalk it up to that too, right? Like, all right, maybe he had an extra beer or so and he was feeling friendly. Maybe that's part of the reason why he was there. But what didn't happen was my car didn't just break down. And some guy didn't just pull over and help me because that was just the natural inclination of things. There's a whole series of events in our lives that lead up to where we are and what's happening. The same is true throughout history. If you look at mankind, at one time, it was probably easier to find someone who believed in human sacrifice than it was to find clean water. Like, that's crazy, right? And nowadays, that seems ridiculous. So there had to be some things that happened between human sacrifice on the daily for rain and, hey, let me help you out with your car, not sacrifice you to the gods because you're weak. This guy was buff, by the way. He was probably this tall and every bit of 190 pounds of just like muscle. I was like, please don't eat me when he got in the car. He was super nice though. His name's Tony, by the way. I got his number. He's gonna help me fix my car soon. But there's something that's happened between there and now. We can agree on that, right? It didn't just happen. So throughout time, there have been genius people who have been able to step out against the ways that things have been in the past and create new habits for the future. You have these religious minds that decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't kill people anymore at the altar. And the next step was goats. You know, and then they're like, yo, maybe we don't need to kill goats anymore. Maybe we eat bread and drink wine, which is my favorite of the sacrificial kind of things that you can do. I'm like, oh, so taxing. Then you move into like this whole realm in the Enlightenment of people that say, you know what, actually reason and thought brings forth a whole new realm of existence for people, and you can do it on your own. This isn't something that you need a massive group of people, or you don't need an establishment to tell you to have reason. You can use your mind and use thought to progress your life. That goes all the way up to your families, where maybe your parents, if you look back in the past, you could probably find someone, maybe not someone you know, and we're gonna do a little discussion here. You could probably find someone that was terrible if you were to look back in the past. And that's gonna be our next question here. If you were to look back, just do Ancestry.com and research every person in your family, going back as far as possible, do you think they would all be great? When we look back in the past in my family, I could go back one generation and find people that I don't necessarily think did the best job. And then I can look back one more and see people who did a little bit worse. And I can look back one more and be like, man, I'm so glad I have my dad and not that guy, you know? And it's funny, Felicia made a really good point. She was like, half the people in this room are related to Genghis Khan. So, so for some of you can just check that yes mark right now. There are terrible people in your past. So true. Now, each step in life, your family has been probably working to try to make life better for you, to try to make life better for themselves and the people around them. Now, that's what the good life is about. It's not about looking at our right now situation and thinking just random events happened leading us to this point and we just have it. It's recognizing that it took work by individuals making individual choices to change the way they live their life, to change their habits, to change their perspective, and now we're in that position to do the same. So when people look back at us, they're gonna see something. And I know for me, I'm hoping that they don't see that first bad person looking back in their family tree. They're not like, oh yeah, Grandpa Noah was the worst. I don't want that. I want them to look back at me and say, whoa, not him, somebody before him that I never met, because Grandpa Noah was dope. He changed people's lives around him. He made an impact. He was super positive, and the way he lived life helped model the way that I live my life. This is what the good life is about. This is why we're coming together like this. It's to try to get ourselves in the best place for our families and the people around us. So all I want to say is remember that the good life takes work and effort, but it's so worth it.